Hey everyone, it's Paul Ward here, and welcome to another edition of Farm Talk. I'm so excited today because we have Rick Schroeder, president of Many Mansions. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And this episode is brought to you by Escrow Hub and the Money Store. So Rick, as the president of Many Mansions, what is the mission of the organization?
Yeah, Many Mansions is a nonprofit affordable housing and service provider. So we're a California nonprofit organization with a focus on developing and managing affordable housing properties for persons and families that are low income, and at the same time providing on-site what we call life-enriching services for them. Okay.
And how many facilities does the organization have throughout Southern California?
In Ventura County, we have 16 affordable housing communities with 538 units of restricted affordable housing.
Okay, and then also Los Angeles County as well?
Yes, we have 3 properties currently in development in Los Angeles.
Okay, and this facility is beautiful. I mean, it's not what you would stereotypically think of as, you know, homeless housing. I mean, when you walk around, it's beautifully landscaped. It's kind of got a Spanish style, tile roofs. It's actually more beautiful than some of the surrounding properties.
It actually is. Yeah, we're sitting here in Ormond Beach Villas, which is 60 units of affordable housing expressly for veterans. Some veterans with disabilities, some veterans that were homeless. But really all of our affordable housing is really well-constructed, beautiful apartment complexes. And I used to say that you can never tell the difference between an affordable housing apartment next to an apartment that wasn't affordable housing. But actually that's not true. You can tell the difference. The affordable housing is probably better constructed, better maintained, cleaner, quieter. So actually, I think there's some old misconceptions of affordable housing from the 1960s and 70s of tall buildings that are just crammed with people. But that's not today's affordable housing. These are very nice quality apartment complexes.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that there was pride put into the facilities when they were constructed.
Yeah, and I think as I mentioned to you earlier, this particular property, Ormond Beach Villas, actually won the Affordable Housing Development of the Year for 2020, last year.
That's incredible. Out of all the nonprofit groups that construct affordable housing and all the facilities.
In Southern California, correct.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
How has Many Mansions evolved over the years?
Quite a bit. I first became involved in Many Mansions in the 1990s as a volunteer, and then as a member of the board of directors, and then as president on staff in 2002. Back then, we were a very local organization. When I first got started with them, we only had 2 properties, all in Thousand Oaks, and our focus was really on developing properties in Thousand Oaks. Since that time, we've expanded throughout Ventura County and now into Los Angeles County. The properties that we develop now are mainly supportive properties, supportive housing for people with disabilities, or people that were formerly homeless. And we do our own property management and our own services. So we've grown as an organization. When I started, we had maybe 20 employees, and now we have close to 80.
Wow.
So we've grown quite a bit. But really, I think our mission and our commitment to our residents has never really changed. We've always want to take people that need housing the most and do what we can so that they can live a wonderful life and thrive in the community.
And how is the organization funded? I mean, these folks are low income, the rents are reduced.
Yeah.
How do you get your funds?
Well, our funding in terms of developing property comes from a lot of different sources. It comes from just borrowing money from loans, state and federal programs that also loan money, but you don't have to pay them back right away. Sometimes there's investors, actually, through a tax credit program. So going into a property, that's part of our long process of getting enough money to build the project. This project that we're here in Ormond Beach Villas costs $20 million. But once we receive that money and we build the property, each property generally sustains itself. Even though the rents are very low, the operating costs are also pretty low. Our residents do pay rent, but again, at an affordable level. So generally, the properties sustain themselves. As an organization, we raise money by donations, by grants, by managing properties, by all sorts of other ways, by developing the properties. So we get our funding through a variety of sources. But the properties themselves generally are able to sustain themselves.
Gotcha. And I heard that you're about to house 49 homeless veterans that are currently on the streets.
Yeah, we have a project in the Sun Valley Sylmar area called Summit View that will be 49 units for homeless veterans. So every veteran, or chronically homeless veterans, that is a veteran who's been homeless for more than a year.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful housing complex. It's close to being finished. It will be finished in December. It's beautiful. So on top of a hill, and there will be on-site services, and we'll be drawing from the Los Angeles, what they call the coordinated entry system, of getting people that have been in that homeless system for a long time and finally getting them housing and support that they need.
That's great. And how is that determined? Because you have, thousands, it seems like, of homeless people and thousands of veterans that are homeless and living under freeways and in the bushes. And
Los Angeles and Ventura County have a similar system. In Ventura County, there are about 2,000 persons who are homeless. They're all registered into a database. Los Angeles, very similar. There's about 50,000 people that were homeless. And they look at the varying characteristics, how long you've been homeless, your health condition, other factors, your age. And then from that, we will be referred people that they would consider the most vulnerable so that they are housed first.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, you have to also be a qualified veteran as well for that particular property.
Are the developments changing from what they were before? Are the properties that you're building now different from what they were in the beginning? I
think so. Like for us, we do mostly now new construction. We build them from scratch. Before, we were often buying an existing apartment complex and renovating them. So now our focus is mainly on the new construction because we can build them the way that we want. With a beautiful community center, so we can provide services. The units themselves, a lot more handicap accessible features. Sometimes they're a little bit smaller, but they're in a way that they're easy for people that have disabilities, hardwood floors, different types of development styles. But so they haven't changed. They've changed a little bit. But I think you mentioned before, they're generally very nice and uplifting. The color scheme, the way that they're laid out. Again, we're trying to make people feel really proud of where they live, and also in a way that's accessible, that they can interact with their fellow residents.
Right. And this one has a playground. It's got community gardens. You can plant your own vegetable garden, and there's like a barbecue area.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want the residents to be engaged in the community, engaged at their property, barbecue, socialize, come down to the community center for the various programs and workshops that we have. We have offices, on-site staff. So these are things that we can build in if we're building them from scratch.
Right. It looks like you have computers too for kids after school activities.
Absolutely. Most of kids work on computers now. Homework is on computers.
Right.
Especially this past year, doing a lot of Zoom things, remote learning, computer databases, but also for the adults too, in terms of job searches and benefit searches and other things.
Right.
This property has free Wi-Fi.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So we also donate lots of computers for the residents, again, so they can feel connected and kind of live in our modern society.
Sure. How was Mini Mansions impacted by COVID?
Yeah, this has been a difficult year, and it certainly affected our residents quite a bit. Obviously, many mansions throughout our properties, we have over 350 school-aged children.
Wow.
And not being able to go to school,
Right.
they were doing a lot of remote learning through their school. But normally we have children's programs. So our programs are generally an after-school tutoring program or a summer camp program. So we've had to do a lot of that also remotely through Zoom. For our adults that were homeless or have disabilities, we usually have a case management program. Again, that's been done by remote.
Gotcha.
Same time, though, we set up, through generous support of donors, a resident needs fund that residents can draw on if they were short of money for certain things because they were impact of COVID. Our rents, though, are adjusted. So our residents, all the rents were adjusted depending on what they were earning. So they weren't too impacted by that in terms of rent or fear that they're going to lose their housing. But some did lose their jobs or were laid off for a long period of time. But because of the affordable housing, they didn't fear returning to homelessness. So I think that's been good for them.
Yeah.
But it has been difficult on all of us, including our residents.
Absolutely. I hear that you're getting into the tiny home business.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Because so much of our housing is for people that are homeless. We are the largest permanent supportive housing organization in Ventura County. That is, most of our units house people that were formerly homeless. We're kind of looking into ways that help the existing homeless population. How do we get them off the streets as quickly as possible? So we've been investigating tiny homes. Tiny homes, the concept is there are companies, especially one out of Washington, that build very small little homes of 64 square feet, 128 square feet, that can easily be put up in vacant land, parking lots, whatever, and that the people can immediately come off the street and reside in that little tiny home on a temporary basis.
Sure.
But they're very comfortable. They have their own heating, they have their own air conditioning, beds, and then you develop a kind of community where there's bathroom facilities, there's eating facilities, there's on-site case management to assist them. And this is a way that communities, instead of going through the enormous expense of building a permanent emergency shelter, they can put these things up as needed on a temporary basis. So we've been looking at that concept. We've been working, with City of Thousand Oaks and other communities to see if that's something like that can be established.
Gotcha.
I think there's a desire in Ventura County, especially, to try to get people off the streets as soon as possible. So when they're off the street, we can then look for the permanent housing for them. It's very difficult to put people into permanent housing when they're on the streets.
Right.
And we have lots of people that die on the streets and they can't get the medical services that they need. We have a whole property that we're going to begin construction on next month, also in Los Angeles, that focuses on chronically homeless families, children that have been homeless for more than a year.
Wow.
We were actually approached by the Los Angeles School District because in that particular area in Sun Valley, I think over 40% of their children that go to school, in elementary school, have experienced homelessness in their life.
40%.
40%.
That's
At some point in their
staggering.
life, they've experienced homelessness. So they desperately want more housing to get the children and families more stable. Get them off the street, get them into housing. Very difficult, I would think, to go to school while you're homeless.
Yeah, really can't focus or concentrate or
Yeah,
learn.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got a project going on in Fillmore.
We do, yeah. This isn't supportive housing. This is just low-income housing for families. It's 76 units. So it's currently in construction. It won't be completed until March of next year. But this is just for working families that need more affordable housing. One-bedroom units, two-bedroom units, three-bedroom units. So we're pretty excited. This will be our first property in Fillmore, and it's something that the city really has been very supportive of to help local families meet those housing challenges.
And the design looks beautiful. I mean, it kind
It
of has
is,
that
yeah.
farmhouse theme. I
It
think.
is, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So again, we're working with the library. We'll have a huge community center. I think we're working with the Fillmore Library System to actually really play an active role in the programs for the children there and adults. So
Great.
we're excited about that.
Great.
Yeah.
So where would folks go to find out more about mini mansions?
Well, they can certainly check our website, which is www.manymansions.org. We have lots of information on our website, or Instagram, or Facebook. Our whole Facebook page really focuses a lot, puts a lot of pictures of our developments that are currently in construction, or our programs, features some of our residents. Lately we've been featuring some of our scholarship award winners. Many Mansions has a whole scholarship program. This year we're giving out, I believe, 25 scholarships to our resident youth that are going on to higher education.
Wow.
And the scholarships, range from $1,000 to $2,500 per student.
That's great.
So we've been featuring just some of their stories and a little bit about them. So Facebook, website, anybody can give me a call or talk to if they're interested in volunteering, our volunteer program, our on-site, our in-person volunteer program will begin again in the fall. And we rely a lot on community volunteers to help us in our after-school tutoring program, or service projects, helping beautify the property, or working in the office, or in some of our fundraising. So we actually, in normal years, we have several hundred volunteers that volunteer at Many Mansions during the course of the year. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Success stories. I read online that quite a few stories of folks that were homeless and getting bachelor's degrees and just kind of like the hardship of life, but
our scholarship program actually is not for just the children graduating from high school to college. We've had a number of adults decide to go back to school or get some type of higher education or trade school. We actually have a couple people here at Ormond Beach that are doing that or have done that have received their degrees. We have one person get his culinary degree, and he's now working as an assistant chef at a restaurant.
Okay.
We had a person just graduate from the University of San Diego, or University of California at San Diego.
Really?
Who wrote this really nice letter to us saying that he was a child that lived all his life at Many Mansions. He came to the after-school program every year. He participated in our summer camp program every year. He was a scholarship award winner. He said he never would have gone to college without that scholarship. And he's graduating the University of San Diego, and he's going on to get his MBA in finance.
Wow.
So
do people then kind of, if they get set in life, do they transfer out of Many Mansions into kind of the regular housing stock?
They do. We've actually, this past year, 2020, has actually been a year, I think we've had the most households move out of Many Mansions because they were going to buy a home. But they were able to save money. Again, they're paying rent.
Right.
They're paying generally between 30 and 40% of their income toward the rent. But that gives them enough to save, so then they can actually think about buying a home or moving.
Right.
But because someone's income rises, we don't kick them out. We want no disincentive for someone to improve their life or to improve their income. Again, they may pay more toward the rent.
Gotcha.
But once you've qualified for Many Mansions, you generally can stay there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you could stay there for indefinitely then.
Right. But again, people do move, and we actually had somebody also, one of the people that moved out this past year, they said, you know what, our income has risen, and we actually want to give another family a chance to live here, because it helped us so much that we think it's just right to move and give someone else that opportunity. Unfortunately, we have a very long waiting list. We had to close our waiting list 2 years ago. It's still technically closed because we had over 3,000 households.
Really?
A household could be one person or a family, but 3,000 households on our waiting list. And these are all households from Ventura County just looking for more affordable, better housing.
Right.
So-
3,000 people or families waiting.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's not all. It's not necessarily all people that are homeless.
Sure.
It's just someone that wants to live with many mansions.
Mm-hmm.
So we think we may open the waiting list in a little bit, especially for our 2 and 3 bedroom units size. But we haven't done that yet. But yeah, we're trying to build more housing. That's really the only solution.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, we have other projects. It's not just the Fillmore project that's under construction. We are close to maybe another year or so of 3 other projects in Ventura County that we hope to begin construction. One is in Oxnard, which is our Central Terrace project. There'll be 87 units, again, mostly supportive housing. We have one just outside of Camarillo, which is actually for homeless seniors.
Okay.
50 units for seniors who are homeless. Actually, our senior population is the fastest growing homeless population. And then we're working with the Area Housing Authority on a project in Camarillo. That again will just be for low-income families. So that hopefully will start construction in a year or so.
Okay. Where's Many Mansions headquartered?
Our headquarters are in Thousand Oaks, right on Thousand Oaks Boulevard. We were actually founded, we're coming up on our 42nd anniversary. We're founded in August of 1979 in Thousand Oaks. And it was really just a bunch of concerned citizens that came together and said, what can we do about the high cost of housing that existed in Thousand Oaks back in 1979? So they got together and they decided to kind of pool their money together and get donations to help people pay rent. So that was our first program called the Adopt a Family program, where they would adopt a family and help pay part of their rent so they could stay in the housing that they were there. But then we realized that wasn't very sustainable because the landlords just kept increasing their rent. So we decided back in the mid-1980s to begin to develop housing.
Okay.
That was difficult and it was a slow process, and we didn't do too much for the first 15, 20 years or so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting transformation to go from helping a few people pay their rent to building thousands of units.
Yeah. I mean, we're projected if all of our development projects go forward, we will double in size in the next 4 years.
Wow! And really?
Yeah.
In 4 years?
Yeah.
That's incredible. And then continue to manage those and keep them sustainable, and that's a great success story.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Rick Schroeder, thank you so much for being a guest on this edition of Farm Talk. We greatly appreciate you filling us in on what's happening with Many Mansions.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me.
And this edition was brought to you by Escrow Hub and The Money Store. And you could find us online, Amazon, Apple, iPlay, and of course YouTube. And be sure to check in for the next edition of Farm Talk.